nice healthy range of motion through the hips and the low back, and also the upper back and a bit of the shoulders as well. So these are great ones to do in the morning. If you feel really stiff in the morning, you might just kind of move around a little bit, make your coffee, have your breakfast, and then try your first thing can be fine if that's good for you. Also a good one, a good little sequence for those of you who spend a lot of time sitting at a desk. Do this before your lunch, or some time to break up your day to get some healthy movement in. So we're going to start in a seated position. Your hands behind your back. They can be forward or back, whichever is comfortable for you. Just make sure your shoulders are down away from the ears. Feet are going to be wider than your hips. If you have pretty tight hips, then you're going to make your feet a little more narrow, because we're going to go side to side. And if you have a lot of tightness, it's going to be harder if your feet are wider. So it's okay if you let your hip lift a little bit, but we're not just letting your legs drop. And for me, a little wider is comfortable. You can assess what's better for you. So I like to do at least 5 on each side, but preferably 10 on each side. Just rotating the leg bone in that hip socket, both directions. So if you think about this as your hip socket and this as your leg, basically just rotating in and out inside the socket, just lubricating the joint. Remember, motion is lotion, so for healthy joints, we want to move them around throughout the day. Next one will be from a kneeling position, or half straddle rather. So one leg's going to extend out. My foot is about in line with my knee. I'm going to put my hands on the floor in front of me, maybe a bit in front of my shoulders, and let my hips rock forward and back. And how far back you go depends on you, of course. So if it's more comfortable, you could let the toes come up, but if possible, keep the inner foot in contact with the floor. And how far, the further you go back, the more stretch you'll have kind of along your inner thigh. And you don't have to go really far forward, because we'll get to that kind of front of the hip area next. That was 10 on one side. So again, the foot's about in line with the knee. I have my inner foot in contact with the floor. And if you have any wrist issues, you could do this on your fists as well. That feels better for you. And some people find it nicer to put extra padding under the knee, throw a blanket under there if that's better for you. Just 5 more to do it. And notice I'm also just gently pushing my hands into the floor. I think it's always good to have good shoulder alignment and lifting, keeping the head lifted. Generally, I think it's better not to just let the head kind of dangle and hang there in space. Okay. Now we're going to take that half lunge position. So I'm going to turn the other way. And one foot's going to move forward. And on that back foot, I'm going to go ahead and tuck my toes. And for this one, there's going to be 2 components. You're going to just lunge forward. Now, for those of you who have the easy to arch your back, and then your ribs might notice your ribs kind of pop forward, I want you to keep those ribs down and belly in. Or you could also think about that as like tail down towards the floor. And then only go as far as it's comfortable that you can go without losing that position of the pelvis. Now this one hurts my knee a little bit, so I like to give it a little extra padding, so I'm just going to do it like that. And then once you feel comfortable here, you can add on the arms, opening up the chest. And I recommend inhale here. So I'm still keeping that same position of my spine, but now I'm stretching through the front of the shoulders and the chest. And you can bring the arms down if that's more comfortable. I'll give you a second option on the other side if you might prefer that one. And you might find as you go, you can start to go a little further, but not necessarily. And I do encourage people to move with the breath. It helps you stay mindful of the movement, not go too fast. So inhale and exhale. about 2 more on this side. Okay, we're gonna turn around and face the other way. And again, we want to make sure that the tailbone is reaching down towards the floor and the ribs are gently drawing in. We don't want to over-engage that either, because we also don't want to do too much of this. So we want to just keep a nice neutral spine. If you prefer your foot back further, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with letting the knee go towards the toes. Sometimes people say that's a bad position for the knee. Not necessarily, and also there's not a lot of weight on the leg in this position. But if you have any knee issues, then I would recommend letting the knee go past the ankle. So this time, if you want, maybe you keep the arms up and just strengthen the shoulders a little bit as you do this. But either way, either option is fine. And I recommend keeping the gaze forward. So you start to look down, you start to shift the alignment of the neck. So you want to think nice long length through the neck, and again retaining that neutral pelvic tilt. All right, we're gonna do one more. This will be gonna lie on your stomach and be kind of a pull down. So as you do this next one, as I'll be on my belly in a moment. You're gonna pull your arms down, and as you do this, I want to imagine you're really pulling a weight down as you bring your elbows up towards your rib cage. And for this one, when you're laying on your stomach, I want you to engage your core. So it'll be a little bit of engagement, like you're trying to lift your belly off of the floor. Get into that a little bit more here. And the reason we do that is we don't want to just lift and work these muscles in the low back work. So if you're feeling a lot of activity through here on this exercise, try to engage more. So you might feel a little activity in the glutes, or don't lift quite as high. And I like to tuck my toes because it keeps your ankles straight, especially for those of you who can't keep your feet flat without them turning out or in or something. It does put some strain on the ankles and therefore the knees. If you're not sure what they're doing back there, just go ahead and tuck your toes. You're gonna start with your palms flat and your arms straight. Inhale as you lift, and again, imagine you're pulling a weight down and bringing your elbows towards your rib cage. Notice my neck is staying relatively straight. I'm not looking forward. I'm definitely not looking up. As you exhale, come back down. Inhale, lifting up, and exhale down. And I started to feel that a little bit in my low back, so I'm just gonna bring it down just a little bit, because personally for me, it's easy to lift really high and make that low back do everything. So it's not necessary, it's definitely not better, at least in my case. 5 more. Okay, and the last one is going to involve a little bit of a twist. I'm going to give you 2 options. You'll be laying on your back for this one. I'm going to bring my knee into my chest. I have my right hand on my left leg, and I'm bringing that knee across the body. My hip is lifting off of the floor, and my left arm is extended. I'm bringing that leg down, and then the other leg up, the other hand. And I'll do a few in this way, and then I'll show you the second option. So just nice, gentle, dynamic twisting. So for a lot of people, it's actually better to do these dynamic stretches versus static, versus holding one position for a long time. Ease your body into increased range of motion as you go. Those longer stretches are better for after some activity, after a long walk or a run, after a bike ride, and maybe hold those stretches a little longer. you spend a lot of time sitting, it's better to do some dynamic stretching. Now we'll change that up. So now you might just swing your leg, or not swing, but bring it slowly across your body. You might get here, and that's fine. You might get up to the height of your hip. Just make sure you're keeping navel gently drawn to the spine so you don't twist too much into the low back. And if it feels good, you can turn your head in the opposite direction. For me, it's better to keep my neck neutral today, so I'm going to just keep my neck straight. But when my neck's feeling a little better, then personally I would do this leg to the left, head to the right, and then leg to the right, head to the left. Again, keeping that belly in as you twist. All right, and I like to roll up to my seat by tucking my chin and just using a little momentum to come back up. All right, thanks for watching, everyone. There's some nice mobility exercises to help with the range of motion in the hips, bring some movement into the whole spine really, and just open up those chest and loosen up the chest and loosen up the shoulders a little bit. Thanks for watching. Have a healthy day.